You've probably heard of Ertugrul, haven't you? Even if you haven't watched it, you've probably heard of it. When Imran Khan, who's the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and obviously may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for him and bring him out of the situation he's in for the sake of the country as much as for himself. But he asked that series be dubbed into Urdu because he felt that it was giving something to the youth. It was making them proud of being Muslim and also kind of connecting them to their heritage. And then he actually asked for the series on Yunus Emri to be dubbed it in Urdu. So this actual series is on YouTube and it's in Urdu and Turkish with English subtitles. So there's a series which I would encourage you all to watch if you have time. It's 2 seasons, it's about 20 episodes in each season, and it's the story of this man, Yunus Emri. And it goes through how he starts off as a scholar, outward scholar. He knows the science, he becomes a qadi, a judge. But he's, with knowledge, which is one of the things I'm going to talk about. And Imam Ghazali alerts us to this in the Ihya Ulumuddin, to the scholars, is that knowledge can make you arrogant. And Imam Ghazali is very truthful, very sincere in admitting that he became arrogant. And then he obviously went on his journey to try and break that. And so it shows Yunus Emri at the beginning as this arrogant qadi who thinks he knows what he's talking about. Then he meets the sheikh and then basically becomes a dervish, and then it shows you how the sheikh takes him stage by stage through his journey before he becomes a poet. At the end of the series, when he actually becomes the poet, some of the poetry is obviously portrayed. And this is what I'm going to share, inshallah, with you, because as much as Dr. Asim has faith in me, I don't know Turkish. I was there for a year, and ashamedly, I didn't learn much. I lived on Google Translate, so there's only so much Google Translate can get you. And you're like, is that really what you just said? So it wasn't always accurate. But even in the English, if you just follow it in Turkish and listen to it, for me it's done something for me. It's moved my heart, and I think it speaks to all of us. But in this particular part of my life, I felt it really was speaking to me. So if you want to listen to it after this, go to episode 21 in season 2, and it's about 1 hour and 5 minutes, and you can actually watch it. So it'd be good to watch it. So he starts off by saying, to be real on this path, you must be humble. To be real on this path, this journey to God, you must be humble. If you look down at others, you'll get pushed down the stairs. If you look down at others, you get pushed down the stairs. And I think the reason why this particular 2-3 minutes it is in the actual series really captured my attention is because this spoke to me. And one of the things I've come to realize more and more in recent years is my own arrogance. And if you cannot overcome your arrogance, you're in big trouble. And we all know the hadith about whoever has any arrogance, even an atom's weight of, or a mustard seed of arrogance, as in the hadith says, you will not enter paradise. So that should be quite frightening, because that means if there's any ounce of arrogance in our hearts, then we're not going to have a good day out in the next life, right? So that should alert us that this is a major, major problem. And as they say in the disease of the heart, there's lots of diseases of the heart, but at the top is what? Arrogance. If you look at the story of Iblis, and he displayed lots of spiritual ailments, but his primary crime was arrogance. Ana khayrun min. I am better than him. I am better than him. And what is Yunus Emri saying? To be real on this path, you must be humble. Meaning, if you're arrogant, you've got no chance. You're not going anywhere. You can sing as many qasidas as you want. You can read Surah Yasin over and over again. You can go and do as much good work as you want. But if you're arrogant, you're not going to get very far. So he says, if you look down at others, you'll get pushed down the stairs. What happened to Iblis? He went from being at the pinnacle and he fell completely to disgrace. That story is there to tell us something. And it's interesting how even 4 pages into Surah Baqarah, that's the first story that comes up. Right? So, the story is all about, this poem starts off with that point, that listen, you want to be successful in the path to God? We all say we do. We all say we love the Prophet. We all say we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, you have to be humble. And the opposite of humility is what? Arrogance. Get rid of the arrogance if you want to be humble. And then also he says, if you look down at others, you'll get pushed down the stairs, which is interesting, meaning if you're arrogant, you're going to fall. Which is interesting because we have a saying in English, it says, what goes around comes around. And there's also something similar in our tradition, although it's not hadith, kama tudinu tudan. It's attributed to one of the companions. And again, loosely translated as if what goes around comes around. And so what's interesting is that obviously the punishment of the arrogance will be in the next life, but you will also taste some of the consequences of in this life. And if you look at the end of Surah Zalzala, Surah number 99, it says that whoever does dharra, whoever does an atom's weight of good, khayran yara. Whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does a dharra of shar, sharran yara, he will also see that. So if you do an atom's weight of good, you'll see it, and if you do an atom's weight of wrongdoing or evil, you will see it. In other words, in the next life, everything's going to be measured. However, it's not just the next life. In this life also, you will suffer. So you have the consequences in this life and then the next. Then he says, a heart that must always feel superior will one day lose its way. A heart that must always feel superior will one day lose its way. Right? So, if you have this superiority and you look down at other people, one day you will lose your way. You're going to go astray. And then this is really interesting. It says, there is no use hiding it. What's inside always leaks outside. What's inside always leaks outside. And so, this is a really interesting concept because people will say things like, this is not like me. I was never like that. Right? And in fact, I was just talking to somebody today, 2 hours, sister's going through a divorce, and she said something similar, that I don't like the person I'm becoming. I was never like this. And the thing is, only that something is inside will manifest outside. If it's not in you, it will not come out. If it's not in you, it will not come out. There's a story of, I can't remember who it was, but it's a story where the man's insulting this person and he doesn't respond. So the person says, why didn't you respond? Because he goes, well, there's nothing inside me to respond with. Right? So this is why you have to cleanse yourself. But if something comes out of you, it means it's in you. So he's saying what is inside will always leak outside. So if you have got this, I was having this conversation with somebody on the weekend, and they were describing someone I know, and they're saying, yeah, that person's really calm, they're really composed, but I know the person in their private capacity, and if you push their buttons enough, I tell you this much, they're not calm and composed, right? And I was thinking, you're basing that description on what you see outward and outside life, in public life. But the reality of the person is inside. When you're in the home, when you're away from the public, that's when your reality comes out. So if you're a person that shouts and screams, right? If you're a person that's grumpy in the home, but when you go to work, you're all smiles. So when you go to work, everyone says, such and such is such a great person, always smiling, always kind, always helpful, always this, always that, but you're not doing that in the home, that's not you. What you're doing outside, that's for the public. There's a certain amount of fakery, because if it was you, you'd be the same inside and outside. And this is something for all of us. This is something that I'm not talking here as if I've done this, right? I'm just like all of yous. This is just as much relevant to me as it is to everyone else. And this is why I'm sharing it, because this poem really made me think a lot. And so the only reason Iblis's arrogance came out, because it was inside him. There was no arrogance in him, he wouldn't have reacted like that. Yeah. Right? Adam alayhi salam does not react with arrogance, because it wasn't inside him. Right? So whatever is inside will come out. If you push somebody enough, their reality will come out. And so this is why it's so important to cleanse the heart. And what happens is, as events happen in our lives and you react a certain way, if you don't react the proper way, that is God showing you need to do some work. God's actually doing you a favor by showing you, listen, there's still stuff inside you that it's not, you need to get rid of. Right? It's not good for you. So then he says, even the one with the long white beard, meaning the one who looks wise, right? Even the one with the long white beard doesn't understand. And this really part of the poem really affects me. He says, if he breaks a single heart, why bother going to Hajj? Ya Allah. If he breaks a single heart, why bother going to Hajj? If he has no compassion, what's the point? What's the point? And this is, for all of us, if we're doing all this da'wah work, or we're teaching classes, or we're maybe giving a lot of sadaqah, or involved in good, activities, or whatever it might be, all the good stuff, the community stuff, or we're going to classes, we're going to good gatherings. But if you are breaking someone's heart, he says, what's the point? Right? And what he's trying to get at is character. It's all about character. It's not about how many Hajj you do every year, how many books of hadith you've memorized, how much Quran you memorized, many mosques you've built, all the stuff that people applaud you, right, and say, mashallah, mashallah, right? It's about your behavior, how do you treat people? And the people that are nearest and dearest to us, like our spouse and our children and so on, our relatives, that's the litmus test. So he's saying, if he breaks the heart, why bother going to Hajj? And so there's my father used to like Bulle Shah. We've got some people like Bulle Shah here. No? Nobody like Bulle Shah? Bulle Shah is not going to be happy. Right? Bulle Shah, again, one of the few poets who wrote in Punjabi. And my dad used to read this book, Bulle Shah, and I didn't understand a thing when he used to say it. He used to read it, and I'd say, I don't understand what you're saying. But I remember a line, which this came to me when I was considering this line, and he says, if he breaks a single heart, why bother going to Hajj? Because the next bit he's going to say, my heart is the throne of the beloved, where the beloved is aware. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Bulle Shah says, Masjid taade, mandar taade jo kuch tenda, par kisi da dil na tawe, Rab dil vich renda.
I think there's a few more people that like Bulle Shah.
Yeah. You will now. So, destroy the mosque, destroy the temple, destroy whatever you want, right? But do not destroy another person's heart, because that's where Allah, that's where God is. That's where God resides, right? So, again, what is this? This is all about how you treat other people. What Yunus Emre is trying to say is, listen, don't get carried away with your rituals and all the rest of it if you can't treat people properly. The real mark of a person, that rahmah that Dr. Asim was talking about, is how you treat other people. Treat them with compassion, treat them with kindness. And there's hadith about this. I mean, this is like linked to hadith. I mean, there is a hadith, sometimes you hear that to break a believer's heart is easier than breaking the Kaaba stone by stone, but it's not actually a hadith. I was looking up, it's actually not actually a hadith. However, there is a hadith similar. It says, indeed, Allah has made you, the Prophet was talking about the Kaaba, Allah has made you very honourable, very respectful, and very lofty, but the believer is more honourable than you. Right? So that's a hadith in Ibn Majah. So the point here is what the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was only sent to perfect character. To perfect character. Akhlaq. This is about how you treat one another, how you behave with one another, in particular the people who are closest to us. And what is character? We hear about this all the time. Good character. Good character is your mannerisms, how you act, your behavior, right? And so what he's trying to say is, look, what's the point of all this knowledge? What's the point of all those tahajjud prayers? What's the point of all the fasting and all the good stuff? What's the point of it if you're not working on your character? Iblis prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much, none of us will reach to the level that he did. The amount that he worshipped God, none of us will get to that point, right? But what did he do? He had bad character. He lost it all because he had bad character. So the good stuff, the salawat that Dr. Asim was saying, yes, we should do that. It's not that we shouldn't do it. However, do not neglect good character. Then he says, my heart is the throne of the beloved. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where the beloved is aware. And as we know, what does the hadith says? The hadith says, Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at your outward forms and your wealth. Walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum wa amalikum. But he looks at your hearts and your actions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking where? Into our hearts. It's not the outward form, it's the heart. What's going on in the heart. Then he says, whoever breaks another's heart will not find happiness in either world. Whoever breaks another's heart will not find happiness in either world. In other words, in this world or the next world. And this is what I was saying before. Whatever you do comes around. Whatever kama tadinu tudan, whatever goes around comes around. You will, if you wrong other people, you will suffer in this world first before you get to the next world. We know this, isn't it? We know if you oppress someone, the dua of the oppressed, what do we know about it? It's answered. If you oppress another person, you wrong another person, if they make dua, their dua is accepted. Right? So it's very important that if we have wronged another person, if we have broken another person's heart, that we seek forgiveness from them. It's much better to seek forgiveness in this world than the next world. Then he says, the ones who say very little, well, the beasts are always speaking volumes. One word is enough for one who knows. Again, the point here is for us to try to understand our hearts. Try to cleanse the heart. Otherwise, the years of good actions will come to not that there will be no benefit, but it will be less benefit. It's not about information gathering. Somebody can know a lot of information, but they understand very little. Right?
You know lots like that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, last time I was in Birmingham, I was talking to someone, older man, and he was saying to me that many years ago he met someone, and I can't remember what it was, but there was some sort of dodgy deal or something, and this man said to him, as a convert man, he said to him, it's not worth la ilaha illallah. And he said that hit my heart so much that in my life I've used that to save myself, because there's been times in my life when I'm about to do something and I say to myself, it's not worth la ilaha illallah. So that's a man who's understood. He's listening, he's paying attention. He's taken that and thought that's good stuff. Right? I'm going to use that. And he himself has used that to keep himself safe. Right? Then he goes on to say, Yunus Assembly says, if there's any meaning in the holy books, it is this: whatever is good for you, grant it to others too. right? Whatever is good for you, grant it to others too. And we know this, isn't it, from hadith, love for your brother what you love for yourself. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows this, right? Love for your brother what you love for yourself. And this, again, really spoke to me. Whatever is good for you, grant it to others too. Even though I know this hadith, love for your brother what you love for yourself, and I've taught it, but sometimes what happens is sometimes you go into autopilot and you're not really paying attention. And then when I thought about this, I thought, oh, actually, hold on a second. I actually do have a problem with envy. And this is Imam Ghazali talks about this. He talks about the scholars being envious of one another, right? And I realized that that's about myself, that hold on, actually, I do get envious, because when I hear about a certain other scholar who's very famous and all the rest of it, something happens inside of me. Something shouldn't be happening there. I mean, this is something that, again, all of us have to use techniques that help you or what resonate with you. And what resonated with me to help me with my envy or my jealousy is to tell myself that their success is my success. Their failure is my failure. Because we're all one body, right? That's my brother. And so if he's doing well in the da'wah field, that's also me doing well. And if he collapses for whatever reason, that's my collapsing as well. You see, so you have to use whatever resonates with you, whatever hits your heart, whatever makes your heart understand. You've got to make your heart understand. Ghazali talks about this. He talked about making your heart understand, he says. Then he says, whoever comes to this earth migrates back. In other words, we're all going to go. Whoever's here is going to go. Right? And we all know that the world is short, isn't it? And this is important because Dr. Hassan was talking about Gaza, and obviously Gaza has been on the screens. You know, that suffering is not going to last forever. There'll come an end. Netanyahu is not going to live forever. Do you remember Ariel Sharon? Remember what happened to him? Right? The Bushes of the world, the Netanyahus of the world, they're not going to live forever. Right? They're going to die one day. And then they'll have to answer for every single thing that they've done. And the same thing with the people that are suffering in Gaza, it won't last forever. If they die, they're martyrs. If they suffer in this world, they'll get recompense in the next life. And even if they have a difficult life, how long is life going to last? 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years? The dunya is very short, we're temporal. Right? And I mean, you probably see me with glasses now, right? That's because I'm getting old. Right? You know, the white hairs.
I've seen your hair getting more and more white each year you've come.
Yeah, exactly. You know what, I saw Sheikh Samar's name there.
Yeah.
Sheikh Samar once said to us, he said that, you know, when you look in the mirror and you see more white hairs, that is a sign that nothing lasts. So basically, it's almost like a reminder that, look, you're expiring. Expiry date is coming up, basically. Best before is getting closer, right? So what he's saying is that whoever comes to this earth is going to migrate back. You know, we're all going to leave. And that's important because, you know, when we go through difficulties in life, it can sometimes feel that, things are never going to change. But they will. Nothing lasts forever. Right? If things go up and down, you look at the seerah, it's going up and down all the time. Then he says, whoever drinks the wine of love, this is going to get me in trouble now. Right?
Not in this gathering, it won't, don't worry.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a reel made out of this. At this point only, obviously. Whoever drinks the wine of love, and that'll be the reel, understands what I say. And then obviously, Bismillah. Just to complete the reel, and maybe colour it red as well. Whoever drinks the wine of love
Allah
understands what I say. And this is, you know, sometimes we read, you know, stuff from Ghazali or Rumi, we don't understand it. Ibn Arabi, I mean, people do takfir of him, right? Because they don't understand what he's saying, because what they're talking about is they're talking about something they're experiencing and trying to put into words, or something that's not even them, it's other people putting it into words. And some things you cannot put into words, right? You can describe it, you can try, you can, whatever. That's what Ghazali talks about. Ghazali talks about taste, dhawq. You've got to taste it, you've got to experience it, otherwise it's very difficult. So that's what he's saying, that whoever drinks the wine of love, it doesn't obviously mean wine, right? It means, whoever gets intoxicated with love understands what I'm saying. In other words, if you haven't, then you're not going to really fully understand what I'm saying. Then he says, and I love this bit, he says, may Yunus not stray from the path or get on his high horse. And just change the name Yunus to your own name. Right, so this is a dua. He's saying, may Yunus not stray from the path or get on his high horse. And so when I listen to that, I think of my own name. It's like a dua, that may I not stray from the path, may I never get on my high horse. Because see, if you get on your high horse, I'll tell you this right now, you get on your high horse, God's going to knock you off. Watch. You get on your high horse, take it from me in writing, God will knock you off that horse. And you'll feel it. So just don't get in it in the first place. Then he says, keep your eyes fixed on your beloved's face, then you will not see the bridge on the judgment day.
Allah.
Right? In other words, just focus your attention on God and everything will get taken care of. What he's referring to is obviously the sirat, the bridge that we have to cross to get into paradise. And as you know from hadith, some people go quickly, some people go a bit slower, some people crawl. It's like sharper than a sword, and it's thinner than a hair. It's a very difficult thing. And then some people fall off, and underneath is hell. So we all have to cross that. So he's basically saying that if you focus just on God, if you focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then everything will get taken care of. So I like to go back to this poem a lot. And if you want to, like I remind you, season 2, put into YouTube, Yunus Emery, season 2, episode 21, and you go to 1 hour and like 2 minutes or something, and you can listen to him reading this, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslim kathir, alhamdulillah.